Hey guys, Josh here, and as much as I love sharing with you all of the farming games I'm excited for, the reality is that there are also a lot of games I'm worried about. Games that I'm keeping an eye on will probably try when they release, but where I'm seeing red flags that make me doubt the quality of the final product we'll be receiving. I've gathered 3 of these games for this video. I originally planned to include 10, trust me, there are a lot, but I want to make sure I convey my points clearly and explain the reasons why I'm worried. Not just, oh, this game looks bad, so I will focus on 3 games for now. If you want to see more, leave a like, and if we reach, let's say, 3,000, it will tell me you're interested in a part 2. Before we get into it, maybe you are super excited for some of these games. My intention is not to burst anyone's bubble. This is all just my personal opinion, based on my experience of following and playing dozens of farming games each year. You can agree, disagree, it's all good, and you can subscribe for more farming sim content, but now let's get started. First, let's get the big, obvious one out of the way, the Ranchers. First revealed in 2022 with a Kickstarter campaign that raised over 245,000 euros, this game promises to be nothing less than a gigantic open world combining elements of Harvest Moon, but also The Sims and Grand Theft Auto. 3 games that already on their own cover a lot of different mechanics. But that is not enough. Add to that a seamless 4-player online co-op with no loading screen, an auction market to trade with players online, new and free content every season, and a fully autonomous simulated world where you can interact with every object, and things like NPCs, the weather, the environment, will all interact with each other realistically. Think of it like Breath of the Wild, where each puzzle can be solved in different ways. So for example, you'll be able to cut a tree not only with an axe, but also with a gun or by hitting it with your car. Speaking of cars, you'll be able to have vehicles, there's gonna be a whole city to explore, but also dungeons, and you'll get to swim, shoot guns, hunt, farm, date, raise a family, and build a house completely from scratch. There's nothing you won't be able to do in this game. Think of it like 10-year-old you alone in your room when you were daydreaming about the ultimate video game. That's basically what The Ranchers is trying to be. I love dreams, I love an ambitious game, but there is a reason why no game like this exists right now. This year, I've had the chance to talk with several developers who made the games with much smaller scopes than The Ranchers, like Dinkum, Sunnyside, Crater Cove, Ova Magica, and all of the developers agree that their game was either too ambitious in one way or another, or that they had to cut several features out of it. If The Ranchers had a giant team or budget, I would be more optimistic, but right now I'm realistic as we don't really know who is behind this game. Under the Who We Are section of their Kickstarter campaign, we have Ethan Amin, self-describing as a father to a 4-year-old little girl, geek, and a farm sim lover. In 2016, he quit his job, bought a farm with his wife, and moved there to work full-time on The Ranchers. A farm by itself already sounds like so much work, but after this, bam, Red Pill's studio is created. They're based in Paris, which is probably far from the farm, and has a team of 14 talented people. There is absolutely no explanation as to how the studio got started and how they managed to hire at least 14 people before receiving any funding. Very interestingly, except for Ethan, all of the developers are introduced with only their first name and role, that's it. One of them, Yannick, I have seen on their official Discord acting as a community manager, but I've never heard about any of the other developers. For most indie games, it is usually quite easy to find who's working on them. You'll see artists and designers post things on their social media, but here I couldn't find anyone. Maybe these developers prefer to not have an online presence, that's fair, but also most of the development updates on their Steam page are written in the first person. It's I, me all the time with a little we or our that sneaks in here and there sometimes. The communication and everything surrounding this game that I've seen so far is giving strong vibes of a solo developer, and it is perfectly fine to be a solo developer, but not when you're claiming to have a team of 14 people behind you, especially if you are using that argument for your crowdfunding campaign. They also say that they are hiring more people, but I've been visiting their website regularly and I've never seen any job posting on there. There is also the fact that even though they have a dedicated character designer and 2 3D artists, most of the romanceable characters, which are some of the most important characters in the game, are simply pre-made assets bought from various websites. As a result, a lot of these characters come off as incredibly generic. For some reason, there are 2 of them called Alicia, or maybe she's the same one and got a total makeover at some point, but let's just say it doesn't seem like too much effort went into creating these characters, and there's no way you can convince me that there's a dedicated character designer working on this game. So what have all of these people been working on since 2016? This game has been in development for over 8 years already. The full release was planned for the last quarter of 2024. Obviously that's not happening, and for the last year they've been stuck at the alpha stage with very little updates and very little content. According to their timeline, currently they are 2 years behind schedule. Delays are normal in game development, so I don't mind that too much, but I'm just having a hard time buying the fact that there's supposed to be a team of 14 people behind this game. Add to that the fact that originally the Kickstarter campaign had so many things that were word for word copied from the Coral Island campaign. They fixed it after being called out, but all of these red flags are compounding, and I can't imagine that the final game will live up to everything we've been promised. If you've been following the development of the Ranchers, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And now let's talk about our second game, which might be a controversial one, Farm Folks. I have been excited and following the development of this one for years. I do sincerely want to play it, love it, but the more I see of Farm Folks, the more worried I become. Just like the Ranchers, Farm Folks got crowdfunded through Kickstarter that was back in June 2018, and it raised over 90,000 Australian dollars. The game was being developed by a small team called Overgrown. It was supposed to be a pretty standard farming sim, and they were very open to the fact that it was a nod to the classic Harvest Moon series. It had a pretty unique 3D art style, developers at Overgrown were posting frequent updates, and backers were excited. Their final update was in February 2020, and then absolute silence until April 2021, with this post from Crytivo, their publisher. In this update, Crytivo let everyone know that the developers at Overgrown were going through some hardships, and so they decided to acquire the Farm Folks IP and to continue the project internally. If you feel like this story sounds familiar, you may have heard of this other farming game called A New Leaf Memories, where the same exact thing happened. A small team was working on the game, they did a Kickstarter campaign, things were going well, until things were not going well. Crytivo bought everything, released the game, and maybe you've watched my video on that game, but it's not good. I am sure most employees at Crytivo are doing their best. If you work with a lot of different indie developers, things are going to happen. But I think it is worth noting that Sunnyside was supposed to be published by Crytivo for a while, until they silently parted ways and got partnered with Merge Games instead. Roots of Pacha was also published by Crytivo, but a few days after the launch, the developer and Crytivo got into a dispute, which led to the game being temporarily removed from Steam, and when it came back, they were no longer working together. I don't know the specifics of any of these contracts or what happened behind closed doors. I'm simply making observations, but I do find interesting the amount of conflicts happening around here. Obviously, Crytivo also publishes a ton of games where there's no drama, or at least where the drama doesn't make it to the general public. So back to Farm Folks, Crytivo is now fully in charge. In October 2021, they had a new team set up to work on it, and they shared their progress on the new vision for the game. They revamped some of the ideas, keeping farming and life sim mechanics, but with an emphasis on customization. Tons of options for hair and eye colors, clothes with adjustable color palettes and patterns, same thing for furniture, and a modular building system to build anything you'd like. All of this in a new art style with more realistic body proportions, better lighting, physics, with a bit of controversy if you are on Twitter, you know, and up to 4 players in online co-op. A few months later, they launched for a limited time the Fan Folks membership program, letting people support the development with monthly payments for rewards like names and credits, and Discord roles, which to me is a bit odd coming from a large company such as Crytivo. The game is no longer being developed by a small independent team, and people already backed the game once on Kickstarter. But wait, there is more. In their January 2023 update posted on their first Kickstarter campaign, they announced, "It's official, we're launching a Kickstarter." There's just something funny to me about announcing you're launching a Kickstarter in an update meant for people who already backed your game on Kickstarter and have been waiting for years. Luckily, they do specify that original backers will still receive what they paid for, well, except that the game is completely different, and that they will be able to switch to an equivalent tier on the new campaign. Of course, no one is forced to back the campaign, no one is forced to opt into the memberships. The original funds are long gone, so is the original team, but I still don't know if it's just me, but it feels wrong. So the new campaign has not launched yet at the time of making this video, but we do have a gameplay trailer. There's the farming, building, fishing, online co-op, amazing. But then we also have factories, dozens of machines and conveyor belts to automate production, like in Satisfactory. Also, vehicles for racing in this gigantic open world. Oh, and guns for this mode where you hunt ghosts and capture them. There's also a time travel PvEVP extraction mode. Oh, and there's survival mode and a peaceful mode in case you don't want the survival mechanics. Oh, and did I say there will be romance with each NPC having a dynamic behavior and their own story to uncover. On April 1st, 2023, they made an April Fool's post introducing a Dino Crisis mode to the game where you shoot stuff riding dinosaurs. That sounded so ridiculous at the time, it was a funny joke, but almost 2 years later, that is pretty much what the game has become. It seems like they had a bit of an identity crisis, wrote down a bunch of ideas that they could try, and decided to just do all of them. Don't get me wrong, I love a farming game, a base building game, an open world can be fun, romance and unique NPCs as well, Satisfactory is one of my favorite games. Shooters have their place too, but all of it in one game just seems like so much. If they pull it off, it could be interesting, but I have a hard time imagining a game with all of these features. Some of them quite disconnected from each other, they're also all requiring different skills and knowledge from the developers, and I wonder how they're going to all fit in a cohesive and fun experience. Considering the roller coaster that Farm Folks has been on since 2018, by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to add roller coasters to the game, but with the 2 Kickstarter campaigns, the complete change of direction, I know for sure that they have a bigger team and budget than the Ranchers, so I'm a little bit more optimistic, but all of it seems a bit too good to be true. I will play it, I want it to be good, but when you don't have a clear focus, the risks of something going wrong are much higher, so I'm worried. If you have backed their Kickstarter campaign, or you're going to back the second one, if you've been following the development of Farm Folks for a long time like I did, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Lastly, let's talk about Moonfrost, a free-to-play live sim farming RPG coming to PC and mobile soon. There's no doubt this game looks adorable, they have over 57,000 followers on Twitter, so people are hyped for it. If you are hyped as well, as they advertise, you can sign up today for a chance to play today. They have been doing alpha releases, people have been playing it. I've not had that chance yet, but the game exists. It's out there if you're lucky, and at first glance it seems like a fun, casual farming sim. My issue, however, is not with the gameplay mechanics or the art style, it has more to do with what's under the surface. Moonfrost was born from an idea of Gina Nelson and Rick Moore, veterans of the gaming industry and co-founders of Oxalis Games, the studio making Moonfrost. So they thought, what if Stardew Valley was made by a bigger team and enhanced with today's technology? By today's technology, part of it means combining pixel art with modern lighting and shaders for nice visual effects. Another part is Web3 technology, aka the blockchain, crypto, and NFTs. To explain these terms in a very basic way, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and in a game like Moonfrost, they could be rare items, furniture, digital collectibles, things that you could buy with real money or a cryptocurrency. But instead of being tied to an in-game marketplace, NFTs are stored on the blockchain, a peer-to-peer network that is independent from the game developer. This means that once you buy a token, you have ownership over it. The developer can't take it back, you can sell it to other players, and so on, so you can do whatever you want with it. It does sound kind of good in theory, but it also means there's not as much regulation as there would be in a typical in-game marketplace. So if your credentials get stolen and all of your NFTs are sold to someone else, if you get scammed by buying an NFT that looked like a legit item for Moonfrost but is actually fake, it's just too bad and there's not much you can do about it. Some items could also have their value fluctuate very quickly, and on top of that, completing transactions and storing data on the blockchain consumes way more energy than traditional platforms, so it's expensive and not too good for our planet. For the average gamer, Web3 technology simply comes with more risks than benefits, but there is money to be made there for developers, so a lot of them have been trying to integrate it into their games. A few quick searches will show you a lot of scams, flops, games that sold NFTs without ever releasing a final product. There is a reason why this technology has a bad reputation. This is also why Moonfrost will be releasing on Epic Games and not on Steam, where Web3 based games are banned. The reason for this ban is explained by Gabe Newell, president of Valve, who basically says that while the technology is great, its applications so far have been very sketchy, with lots of fraud and illegal things happening behind the scenes. But like every other NFT game, Moonfrost promises to be the different one, to use Web3 in a way that truly benefits the player. In an article called How Crypto Games Should Be Made, the Moonfrost team explains that what makes them different is that while trading NFTs externally subjects you to extra risk, like I said earlier, buying a fake item, to remedy that in Moonfrost, there will also be an in-game marketplace that will look like we see in most standard games, and in that marketplace, NFTs will be verified by the game, so you can't get scammed. You will still be able to trade outside of the game, but you'll be able to trade inside as well, so it should be easier and safer than other NFT games. Alright, so they're fixing one common issue that comes with NFTs, but they could have also just went the normal route of in-game purchases without using the blockchain, and they wouldn't have had to fix that issue in the first place. I still don't see much of the benefit here, to be honest. Maybe I'm not smart enough, but as they said in their blog post, you don't have to know what a blockchain is to play Moonfrost, nor should you need to know. Basically, don't ask too many questions, just sign up and play our game. This brings me to another concern I have. They don't disclose their integration with the blockchain very publicly. It's not in their Twitter bio, they don't post much about it on there. Their pinned post mentions digital collectibles, which is vague, but they do constantly ask everybody to join their Discord and to sign up for the alpha. So I joined the Discord, and there is a channel all about the Web3 chat with some more info. One interesting thing I found is their first NFT, the Frost Hunter license. They describe it as optional, but it will provide you with some Frost, their cryptocurrency, an in-game icon, faster stamina regeneration, access to exclusive areas, more farm royal tickets, whatever that is, increased inventory, exclusive giveaways, shards multiplayer, and early access to the game releases, with more to come. So it's optional, sure, you can play it without paying, sure, but it seems like it's going to give you a major advantage over people who don't have it. So that Frost Hunter license right now is trading for not $20, not $50, not $100, are you kidding? It's trading for $761 US. That number is mind-boggling to me. I think they have been giving some of these licenses for free during the alpha, and most likely the value will change over time, but if I wanted to buy one right now, it would cost me $761. For that price, you can buy Stardew Valley 44, almost 45 times, 84 times if it's 40% off like it is right now. If you have that extra money, you can, I don't know, invest it in the stock market where it has a much better chance to grow. This is not financial advice, but I don't understand how any normal person or average gamer who just wants to play a casual farming game would pay that much money for in-game perks. And sure, you'll be able to sell it back if you stop playing, but then you have to find someone who's actually willing to buy it from you. My guess is that this license will probably lose a lot of value over time. Who knows, it might be worth 99 cents in a year from now. NFTs can be very volatile. Player 1 could have a license for free, player 2 pays $700, player 3 pays $50. It's not a very fair system. They say that they want to make the game appealing to both people who are into NFTs and players who don't care about NFTs, but if a bunch of features are locked behind this expensive license, I don't think this argument really holds up. Free-to-play games have to make money, of course, but this is closer to gambling than anything else. To make things even worse, in the fascinating world of Web3, projects usually have a white paper detailing how the blockchain is going to be used, and the purpose of that is 1, transparency, and 2, to convince the community to get interested and invest. Moonfrost used to have a white paper detailing everything, but it is no longer accessible, which is a huge red flag. And look, at first I thought maybe they're backtracking, maybe they don't want to do the NFT stuff anymore due to the backlash from the community, but that is not the case, and like I said, that stuff is being talked about right now on their Discord. And if you have a quick look at their official website, you have one homepage with 2 sections. A game section where features are being vaguely described, and an investors section showing off all the companies who invested into the game. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but this is not the kind of information the average person is looking for. Typically, you would see like a blog page, an About Us section. Maybe they could tell us about the different characters, the world, but no. The fact that investors are so prominently featured on their website, usually that stuff is like a tiny link in the footer section. It might be a small detail, but to me it shows where their priorities really are, and it says a lot. Plus, 3 of their investors, Pantera, Animoca Brands, and Bluecore, are heavily focused on Web3 projects, so there's simply no way for Moonfrost to backtrack and remove that technology from their game at this point. So even though Moonfrost looks like a cute game, I don't even know if it's going to do anything unique in terms of gameplay, considering the awful track record of anything that has to do with NFTs, plus the lack of transparency from the developer. I have the feeling things are not going to end well or be any fun for your average gamer who's just looking for a cute free-to-play farming sim. So these were 3 upcoming farming games that I am worried about. I do hope they end up turning out great. I wish the best for these developers. But due to things from rocky developments to unrealistic ambitions and questionable NFT integrations, I am skeptical. But now I would love to know what you think. Are you excited for these games? Are you hyped and confident, cautiously optimistic? Or do you have absolutely no hope? Are there things I forgot to point out, and are there other upcoming games you are worried about? Let me know in the comments, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video, which will be in 2025. This is my last video of the year. Thank you all for watching. I hope my channel brought you something good this year. I hope you learned something, discovered some great games, avoided some bad ones. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, so thank you for being here. And also thank you to all of the channel members. Your support really helps making this a reality. And I'm so glad we have built this community of people passionate about farming games. I will be away for a week or so. In the meantime, feel free to watch any video you may have missed. I have a list of 2025 games I'm the most excited for. It's going to be an amazing year. I have a playlist of me playing some bad farming games if you want to save money in a fun way. So enjoy that. Let me know if you have any resolution or goal for 2025, and Happy New Year!